my child, listen carefully. The path you are walking has many turns, and some of those turns have drawn you far from the quiet truth that once lived easily in your heart. I see your confusion, the conflict between what you know is right and what your mind convinces you to accept. I am not angry with you for this. I know how easily the noise of the world can cloud the mind, how the shadows whisper in ways that sound like reason, and how doubt grows like vines over the light of understanding. You have tried to hold on to peace, but it slips away because you look for it in too many places at once. Peace is not found in the voices of others, nor in the constant judgment of your own thoughts. It is found in stillness, in the small pauses between your fears and your hopes. That is where truth waits for you. You think sometimes that you are unworthy of guidance, that you have fallen too far or misunderstood too much to find your way again. But you have never left the reach of grace. Every breath you take is an invitation to begin again. You do not need to beg for another chance. You are already standing in it. There are parts of you that cling tightly to pain because pain feels like proof that you still care, that you are still alive. But I tell you this, you were not made to live in pain as though it were your purpose. Pain is only a messenger. It tells you where love needs to enter, where forgiveness needs to begin. When you stop listening to the message and start worshiping the ache, you lose sight of what the pain was meant to teach you. Your thoughts have become heavy, filled with worry about what will happen, about what people think, about whether you are doing enough or being enough. But the measure of your worth does not depend on those things. The weight you feel is not punishment. It is simply the exhaustion of carrying burdens that were never yours to hold. Lay them down, even for a moment, and feel how your spirit begins to breathe again. There is a war inside every human being, a constant pull between fear and trust, between self and soul. Do not be ashamed of this war. It is the sign that you are alive, that you still care about meaning. What matters is not that you win every battle, but that you keep choosing to turn toward what is true, even when it is hard. You wonder sometimes why silence feels so uncomfortable. It is because silence reveals what is hidden beneath your distractions. When you are still, you begin to see yourself clearly, and that can be frightening. But that is also where you begin to heal. The truth does not come with thunder. It comes with honesty, and honesty always starts quietly. Do not let guilt become your master. Guilt has its place. It shows you where you have turned away from your own integrity, but it should never define who you are. Once you see your mistake, once you understand it, release it. You are not meant to live chained to your past. The past is a lesson, not a prison. Every person you meet carries a universe of thoughts, fears, and memories. When you look at them, try to see that. When they hurt you, know that it comes from their own confusion, not from their worth. You free yourself when you forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. The path ahead will not be smooth. Growth never is. You will be tested, not because life is cruel, but because strength must be revealed through resistance. Each challenge you face is not meant to destroy you, but to uncover what is already strong within you. Do not curse the storm. Learn to walk through it with open eyes. My child, you are surrounded by signs, but you often dismiss them because you expect them to be grand. Sometimes the greatest signs come as simple nudges, quiet reminders, or coincidences that stir something deep in your heart. Do not overlook them. Life speaks to you in whispers more often than in shouts. You keep asking for proof, but proof is what comes after faith, not before it. You will not find certainty by demanding it. You will find it by living it. Take small steps in trust. Each one will make the next step clearer. You don't need to see the whole path, just enough to keep moving forward. Do not fear the unknown. Fear is a shadow that grows when you stand still and stare at it. The moment you take a step toward it, it begins to fade. You are stronger than your fear. You were created to face darkness, not to live within it. Sometimes I see you doubting whether goodness still exists in the world. It does. It hides beneath small gestures. kindness between strangers, forgiveness after long silence, the courage of someone who refuses to give up. Look for it, and you will see that light still lives everywhere. The world has not lost its beauty. It is waiting for you to notice it again. When you fail, and you will from time to time, do not see failure as the end. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is the soil in which success grows. Every time you fall, you are given a chance to rise differently, to rise wiser, humbler, stronger. Your emotions are not enemies. They are signals, each pointing you toward understanding. Anger shows you where boundaries are needed. Sadness shows you where love has gone missing. Fear shows you where faith needs to grow. Do not suppress them. Listen to what they tell you, then let them go. There is a sacred rhythm in all things. Breathing in, breathing out, holding on, letting go, learning, unlearning. When you resist that rhythm, you feel chaos. When you move with it, you feel peace. Let life flow through you instead of trying to control every current. Remember that love is not a feeling, it is a decision renewed each day. You cannot control how others love you, but you can choose how you love them. Love without expecting reward. Love without needing recognition. That kind of love never fails, even when it is not returned. My child, there will be times when you will want to retreat from the world, to hide from its noise and confusion. There is value in solitude, but do not let isolation become your refuge. You are meant to live among others, to share, to give, to connect. It is through others that you see reflections of yourself you could not see alone. Do not compare your path to anyone else's. Each soul has its own rhythm, its own lessons, its own timing. What looks like delay is often preparation. What feels like loss may be clearing the space for something greater. Trust that what is meant for you will never miss you, and what passes you by was never meant to stay. You sometimes wonder if your prayers are heard. They are. Every sincere word, every silent thought, every tear carries meaning. Answers do not always come as you expect them, but they come. Sometimes the answer is not what you asked for. It is what you need. Be gentle with yourself. You demand perfection, but perfection is not the goal. Growth is. Growth comes with missteps, confusion, and correction. You are not broken for needing time to heal. You are human. Healing is not weakness. It is courage in motion. There are truths that can only be learned through experience, not through instruction. Pain teaches compassion. Waiting teaches patience. Failure teaches humility. Each season has its purpose, even when you do not yet understand it. You are not alone, even when you feel unseen. There are forces moving around you, preparing ways you cannot imagine. Life supports those who walk sincerely. Keep walking, even when the light seems faint. One day you will look back and realize that the moments you thought would break you were the ones that built you. The tears you shed watered the roots of your strength. The loneliness you feared was the space where you found yourself. My child, the world is full of voices that promise joy but offer emptiness. They whisper that happiness lies in more possessions, more approval, more pleasure, more control. These whispers come dressed in beauty, in comfort, in the illusion of freedom, but behind them lies the quiet trap of forgetfulness. The greatest danger of temptation is not that it destroys you quickly, but that it makes you forget who you are. Temptation rarely shouts. It often comes softly through convenience, through comfort, through the small decisions that seem harmless at first. It tells you that one compromise will not matter, that you can always turn back later. But every time you trade truth for ease, you drift a little farther from your purpose. You do not notice how far you've gone until silence falls and your soul feels distant. The world teaches you to chase what fades. It tells you that worth is measured by what others see, how you look, what you own, how you are praised. But these are the shadows of meaning, not meaning itself. The heart that pursues them endlessly ends up starving, because it was never meant to be filled with temporary things. Temptation knows your weaknesses well. It will not attack your strengths directly. It will feed your pride through flattery, your loneliness through false affection, your fear through distraction. It will use your desire for goodness to convince you that shortcuts are justified. That is why awareness is your first defense. To see temptation clearly is already to weaken its hold. Many people fall not because they are evil, but because they grow tired of waiting for what is right. The world moves fast, and patience feels old-fashioned. But your spirit does not grow in haste. When you rush what requires time, you trade depth for immediacy, truth for sensation. The devil's favorite lie is, now. He wants you to grab what glitters before you question its cost. Each temptation promises freedom while weaving a chain. The more you indulge the self alone, the more you serve desire without conscience, the heavier those chains become. Freedom does not come from doing whatever you wish. It comes from being strong enough to choose what is right even when every impulse pulls you elsewhere. The enemy of your soul knows the beauty you carry. That is why he tries to distort it. He cannot create, so he corrupts. He takes the gifts planted in you and bends them away from their purpose. Your passion becomes obsession. Your confidence becomes arrogance. Your ambition becomes greed. But remember, if darkness can twist good things, then good can also reclaim what was twisted. There is nothing you have lost to temptation that cannot be redeemed. What matters is not the fall, but the awakening. Each time you see where you have turned away, you are already turning back. Repentance is not shame. It is realignment with your purpose. The moment you choose truth again, even if trembling, heaven rejoices in your courage. Temptations often arise most strongly when you are closest to growth. Just before you rise to another level of faith or service, distractions multiply. That is not coincidence, it is resistance. The forces that seek to hold you down fear your potential, because a soul on fire with purpose cannot be controlled. When you feel the weight of temptation pressing harder than ever, take heart. It means you are near breakthrough. The world uses noise to drown out wisdom. It fills your days with entertainment, comparison, endless scrolling, so you forget to look inward. Silence is where truth speaks, and temptation fears silence. That is why stillness is a weapon. When you quiet the noise, you begin to see which desires are real and which are illusions. There are three great temptations that have followed humankind from the beginning: the hunger for power, the craving for possession, and the longing for pleasure without purpose. These are not evil in themselves. It is the excess, the imbalance, the worship of them that corrupts. Power used for service becomes leadership. Possession shared with love becomes blessing. Pleasure held in gratitude becomes celebration. But when they are pursued as ends in themselves, they drain the soul. Look around, and you will see how subtle these forces are. People chase authority not to serve, but to be adored. They gather wealth not to sustain others, but to dominate. They seek pleasure not as expression of love, but as escape from emptiness. In all of this, they grow farther from peace. The more they have, the less they feel fulfilled, because the void inside cannot be filled by what is outside. Temptation often disguises itself as necessity. It says, "You must do this to survive, to succeed, to be accepted." But survival of the body means little if it costs the soul. You were not created merely to exist. You were created to reflect goodness. When you forget that, you survive but do not live. Be wary of pride that wears the mask of virtue. The devil does not always tempt you with obvious wrongs. Sometimes he tempts you with good intentions twisted slightly off course. He whispers that you are wiser than others, that your path is superior, that your understanding makes you more righteous. But the moment pride enters, love leaves. Humility is the safeguard of truth. My child, temptation cannot force you. It can only invite you. It has no power unless you agree with its voice. Every temptation is a question asking who you wish to become. Each time you answer with integrity, you grow stronger. Each time you stumble, you gain another chance to understand your weakness and rise renewed. Do not hate yourself for being tempted. Even the purest hearts feel the pull of what is wrong. Temptation is part of being human. It reveals where desire and truth collide. You are not defined by the temptation itself, but by the choice that follows. There are moments when you will feel alone in your resistance. The world may mock restraint, calling it weakness. But restraint is strength trained by wisdom. Anyone can give in. Few can stand firm. Remember that every act of faithfulness, even unseen, shifts something greater than you realize. Your example may be the light that helps another soul resist their own darkness. To guard your heart, be mindful of what you allow near it. The things you watch, the words you speak, the company you keep, all shape the landscape of your thoughts. You cannot plant seeds of peace in soil poisoned by constant noise and expect serenity to grow. What you feed your mind becomes what your spirit hungers for. When temptation comes, do not fight it in anger, fight it with clarity. The more you resist something with fear, the stronger it appears. Instead, expose it to truth. Ask yourself, will this bring peace or confusion? Will it strengthen my purpose or weaken it? The answers will guide you. Temptation thrives in confusion but fades in the light of awareness. The greatest weapon against temptation is gratitude. When you are grateful, you see abundance everywhere, and temptation loses its appeal. You cannot be both thankful and envious, both content and greedy. Gratitude anchors the heart in truth, reminding you that you already have enough to walk your path faithfully. Remember also the power of community. Temptation isolates. It tells you that you are alone, that no one would understand, that you must hide your struggle. But connection brings strength. Speak honestly with those who walk in light. Share your burdens. When truth is spoken aloud, shame loses its grip. You were made for the kingdom of goodness, and every temptation seeks to distract you from that calling. The enemy fears what will happen when you live fully awake, when you use your gifts for love instead of pride. He will try to convince you that you are too small, too broken, too late. But that is a lie. Even a single act of courage can undo years of deception. You must learn to see beyond appearances. The world glorifies the temporary, but the eternal often looks ordinary. It is found in kindness, in patience, in quiet service. These things do not shine on screens, but they shine in eternity. The devil wants you to overlook them because he knows that steady goodness changes everything. Each temptation defeated strengthens your faith. Do not wish for a life without trials. Wish for a heart that stands strong through them. A soul without challenge remains shallow. Through resistance, you discover depth. Through endurance, you discover joy that cannot be taken. If you stumble again, and you will at times, do not run away in shame. Turn back quickly. Regret is useful only if it leads to action. You are never too far gone to start again. Grace is not a limited resource. It renews every time you reach for it sincerely. The path toward truth will always feel narrow because distractions crowd the wider road. But though it feels lonely, you are never truly alone. Every step you take toward light is accompanied by countless unseen hands lifting you. When the world tempts you with fear, fear of missing out, fear of rejection, fear of lack, remember this: you cannot lose what is meant for your soul. What is destined for you will not require deception to obtain. You will not need to betray your peace to claim it. If it demands your integrity as payment, it is not your blessing. Temptations come and go, but your purpose remains. The moment you remember why you were created, to love, to serve, to reflect what is good, the power of the world's illusions fades. You begin to see them for what they are, passing clouds before an unchanging sky. Walk gently but firmly. Keep your eyes open, your heart pure, and your intentions steady. Every temptation is an opportunity to declare who you are. Let your choices be your testimony. Let your resilience be your offering. And when the day feels heavy, when temptation surrounds you like fog, remember this simple truth: the light has never left you. It waits for you to notice it again.